Hello, welcome back to the channel by ByMWu. I'm ByMWu, aka Marianne, and today we have episode 25 of the knitting podcast that we host here. We're in a new space. Welcome to the new office. I hope you like the setup. I got green stripes and some yarn on display, and it makes me really happy. While we're in a new space, this is going to be the same old, so I'm going to talk you guys through my finished objects, my works in progress, some future projects that I have planned, I have a lot of going on in terms of whips, so there probably won't be any new cast-ons too soon? I don't know. Maybe that's too soon to say. Anywho, grab something fun to work on and let's jump in. Let's talk about what I'm wearing very quickly. This is my Summer Souffle by Penrose. It is a shirt that I knit up last summer, maybe the summer before actually now. I knit this on behalf of Barbie Summer, so I think that was last year. And it's this beautiful circular yoke with some fitted sleeves, has this beautiful frill. It's a DK weight t-shirt. I knit mine in the Katia Cotton-Yak, which was a cotton merino yak blend. I believe the recommended yarn is Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino held double. And it's just a beautiful, plain, simple circular yoke. The key feature is definitely this frill. I think it's so fun and feminine, and it was such an easy and lovely knit. I loved it so much that I made another one in the exact yarn, just in blue and without the frill, and I wear that one a bunch too because it's just a perfect yarn for not too hot of a summer day, but you want something breathable, and the cotton definitely helps with that. This color is either copper or terracotta. I've seen both. I actually don't know what's the official name. It's basically a dusty pink. It's beautiful. And then the blue one that I made, I believe is called Blue Jeans. Both of them are really fun colors, and I think they suit me very well. I love these shirts. I love circular yoke. I love DK weight. What's not to love about this one? So yeah, that's what I'm wearing today. With that out of the way, let's jump into finished objects. I only have one to share today. It's one that I've been working on, I think, for the last 2 podcast episodes, so it's finally octonidos, and it is a Matcha Jumper. This is the second one that I've made, so this is not a new pattern to me, and it's probably not a new pattern to you because I am probably a broken record about it. So very quickly, it's a pattern by Ines. I love Ines. You'll see a lot of Ines in this episode. And she designed a saddle shoulder, kind of like fitted but boxy DK weight sweater. It has a lot of beautiful twisted rib on both the edges of the actual sweater body and the sleeves, as well as the neck, and it has straight sleeves. I got the opportunity to knit this for her as a test knit at the beginning of the year, and I made a brown one in the color Bark from Knitting for Olive, and I used Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair held with a strand of Knitting for Olive merino to get gauge. I love that sweater so much that I made a second one in the exact same yarn combination. This one is in the color Bordeaux, and I chose the specific color because someone in the test knit group knit a version of the sweater with the mohair, and they held it with a different main strand. It was slightly lighter, so it kind of gave this beautiful like marled color. I didn't feel like buying yarn from 2 separate stores, so I ended up just going with all Knitting for Olive, and I adore it. This color is beautiful. It's like a burgundy. It's showing up a little brighter on camera, but in the sunlight it kind of goes a little magenta, but in like just natural kind of diffused lighting, it's kind of like a dark, I want to say plum, but that's not right, like a grapey color. It's so pretty. I absolutely love it. I think I like it a little bit more than my original. This sweater, as well as my original one, are made exactly to pattern, and I think the only difference is that my twisted rib is a little shorter. She has a bit of a chunkier twisted rib on the body edges as well as the sleeves, and while I wanted to honor that look, I just cut them a little bit shorter, so it was just a little shorter. I think I made size 2 in both versions, and I love this sweater so much that I honestly am going to make a third one, and I'm going to make it in a marled green is the current plan. I probably won't cast that on anytime soon because I have a lot of whips, but this is a dream to knit. It was a dream to test knit. I honestly can't get enough of it. The knitting process is just so smooth. It's really addictive and I don't know how to describe it. And I personally don't mind twisted rib too badly. It can get a little tedious and I know some people have a lot of like hand strain while knitting it. I am okay, but I do still need to take breaks. And so overall, cannot say enough good things about this one. For transparency's sake, I did get this pattern for free since I test knitted it. I did buy this yarn with my own money. Actually, I think I bought the yarn for the original test knit with my own money too. Emma.Knits did provide a discount for the test knitters from a specific store in Spain, I believe. But I think when I did the math, it was gonna cost about the same because of the shipping versus just getting it from the local yarn store near me. If you wanna hear more about this sweater, you can check out the past podcast episodes because yeah, I've been working on this one for a while and then I made a whole other same version of it a couple months earlier. So I've said a lot about this one. So I will leave it there for today, but Matcha Jumper, I adore it. Moving on to whips, I'm trying to decide which one to do first. I think I will do the dress first. So this is another Emma.Knits pattern. I just love her stuff. I am a broken record, honestly, about her patterns and her designs and just her style. She just makes such well-written, thoughtful, elegant garments. So yeah, this is yet another test knit for her. This one is her newest dress in her dress series. It's called The Girl Dress. I will admit, I get a little awkward introducing it because I always call it like, this is the, but then the title of this dress has the in it. So it's like, this is the girl dress. Maybe that's just me. Anyways, this is a dress that I'm knitting for her. Again, pattern has been kindly gifted to me. And then for this one, I got a 50% off coupon to buy the yarn from Knitting for Olive, which is so generous of them. I am so thankful. I would have purchased it anyways. I love pure silk. I love all of the Knitting for Olive yarns that I've tried at least. And this one is no different. So this is her newest dress. It's this showstopper of a dress where it has these beautiful bodice triangle pieces. And then it has a glorious open back. And then the dress is kind of like, is it called A-line? I still don't remember if that's what the style is called, but it's basically kind of like flowy from the bottom without being poofy. This is knit in Knitting for Olive pure silk in the color Deep Petroleum Blue. It's a gorgeous blue. And yeah, it's been a wonderful test knit. I'll compare it to the Milady's dress in a bit because I also test knitted that one for her. This one's easier in my opinion, but I'll talk about the yarn first. This, like I said, is Knitting for Olive pure silk. I adore it. It's an interesting yarn in the sense that it is kind of hard to work with sometimes. It's a little splitty. I find that it causes a decent amount of like friction on my tension finger, but the end result is totally worth it because it blooms so wonderfully once you block it. It seems to like suck up water and then kind of like fluff up because it just looks a little uneven when you first knit it and it just like evens out after a block. It's really wonderful. This yarn too is also cruelty-free, which is an interesting version of silk. I don't know if you know, traditionally, when you try to harvest silk from silkworms, you have to actually kill the silkworm in order to get the continuous strand of silk. That's what makes the really like sheeny, shiny silk that you see, or like, at least when I typically think of silk, that's what I think of. This silk is a little less shiny because they actually, if I understand correctly, harvest the silk cocoon after the silkworm has left. So it does mean that the silk is kind of more like broken up because the worm had to, or I guess moth at that point, had to leave, but they then mix it up into a yarn that is not as smooth, but it still has all the wonderful qualities of silk. This sounds like a sponsored ad, I swear it's not, but I love this so much because it's just such a beautiful yarn. It breathes really well. While the knitting experience can be like hit or miss depending on the individual, if you take enough breaks, I find that it's okay. And it's just a lovely spring summer fabric because it's so breathable, so lightweight. It's kind of cooling and it's not as like warm as like wool is. This is the second dress that I've knit. If that doesn't say anything, I don't know what will. But yeah, so I do plan on making the modification in this one where she has a little bit more coverage in the back. So like I mentioned earlier, the original design has this open back, which is currently in place. I don't know if you can see that there. Like this is the front and then this open in the back here. The back modification is a matter of making more of these triangles and then installing them or knitting them into the back. So it's kind of like 4 triangle pieces that make up the front and back like bodice area. That is a later thing. I could probably do it now given that I'm like well into the skirt, but I will probably save that for a little bit later. And then in comparison to the Militi's dress, this dress is quite a bit easier to make in my opinion because one, most of it is in the round. The Militi's dress, because it has buttons along the front, it's actually knit flat, and purling is a lot more annoying in my opinion than just like knitting stockinette in the round. So this skirt is basically all stockinette in the round, which is very nice. The only knitting flat part is the triangles, but they're smaller pieces, so it's not as difficult to deal with. And then the Militi's dress is kind of tailored to fit. So while she has set sizes, the actual whole premise of that one is that you choose your size. I'm gonna hit this plant a lot. You're gonna choose your size and then you actually adjust them to kind of fit your specific bust, hip, waist, sizes, etc. And the goal is to have 0 ease across the whole dress, which makes it really beautifully form-fitting, whereas this one is kind of more traditional in the sense that she just gives you sizes, you pick one, and then you add an elastic to kind of cinch it in if it's a little bigger or a little smaller, and kind of give that flexibility. I think both of them are beautiful. I do think this one is a little bit more like wow than the other one. I think just because of the open back and the general style of it. The Militi's dress, while you can dress it up, it also has a little bit more of a casual vibe, especially if you wear it with like sneakers and you put a little shawl over it or whatnot. So both of them are beautiful. I highly recommend both of them. I would probably personally, if I could only make one, make the Militi's dress. I think it just fits my style a little bit better, and it's just really nice to get through all of that process and the hard work of making it fit exactly to you to have that dress in the end. That being said, I do still love this dress. I'm excited to see how it goes. I've so far knit, I think I just started my 5th skein of yarn. I've gotten a decent amount done. I'm hoping to go for a midi length. So I think I'm like around just above knee, maybe a little higher than knee. So a little bit more to go, and it will grow with blocking, I believe. I think she said she accounts for about 20% stretch when blocking, so I need to take that into account when I'm trying to figure out the exact length. Oh, I think I also forgot to mention another modification I do want to make is I want to change the straps. The original dress has spaghetti straps made of I-cord. I do plan on knitting like the larger size straps because how she has it currently planned out is that I think anything size 6 or less is just like the I-cord straps. And then anything size 6 or plus, you're actually doing a double knit strap just to provide a little bit more structure. And I don't necessarily think I need the structure, I just want the bigger straps. So I haven't gotten there exactly yet. You wanna see how long the dress hangs before you knit them up, but that's my current plan, is to knit the thicker straps. I think that's all I have to say about this dress for now. It's mostly just a lot of endless, mindless knitting for now. The test knit is going until about, I wanna say the 24th of July. So I have some time to finish, but I do think I need to prioritize it. Otherwise, I'll fall behind and not hit the end. And Ness has always been really flexible in terms of end date, but I would like to hit the current deadline if possible. Because it is the kind of more rustic silk yarn, I've had to kind of bounce between a couple projects just to keep things interesting and make sure that I don't get too much hand strain. I've definitely been stretching a lot because of this one because I've been really mindful. So that leads me to my next work in progress. Okay, so the next work in progress is actually also a test knit. This one is one that I signed up for kind of on a whim because I just saw it on my Instagram feed, and I've been eyeing the original version of it for a really long time. So when the designer Emma made the test call, I was like, should I not? Oftentimes I kind of just sign up for test knits because I'm like, what do I have to lose, you know? The worst case is I don't get it, or they say that I am selected, but then I just have to let them know, unfortunately, I can't move forward with it. I signed up for this one. I luckily could move forward with it, and it's a beautiful sweater. It is way too hot to wear it right now. So every time I look at it, I'm like, it's gonna be like too hot. So this is definitely like a fall winter sweater, probably why it's in testing now. Anyways, I'll stop delaying. This is the Clematis Sweater Chunky version by Emma.Knits, also known as Emma Mayer, I believe is her last name. And this is the infamous sweater that has the beautiful diagonal button band, just the chunky version. I've been eyeing the original one for the longest time. I actually bought some yarn to knit it up. I want to make a blue version of it. Now that I've done this one, I might pivot to make a more traditional cardigan. I haven't fully decided. We will see. But yeah, this is what it's looking like so far. I've knit up most of the body. I have just put the button band edge on the needles, and I'm gonna do that after this podcast. Okay, let's talk about the yarn first. So this yarn was also discounted for this test knit. It was kindly provided at a discount by Cremkel Soul Wool. I'm probably saying that wrong. I believe they're a German company, and it's a combination of these two yarns. So this is actually the exact yarn combo that she used in her original sample, and I just like loved it so much that I wanted to make a replica. This is the Erica Knight Pure Tweed in the color Scottish Borders Multicolor 4501. It's this really fun, tweedy, rustic Aran weight yarn. It has like a bunch of fun colors in it. I will admit it is more pink than I anticipated. When I saw it originally, I thought it was gonna be more cream toned with a bunch of the tweedy flecks. That being said, I still really like it. It's not something I would have usually gravitated towards, but I think held with the mohair, it definitely softens the pink up a little bit. This is a really rustic yarn. I would say that if you have any sensitivity to scratchiness, probably not the yarn for you. And I have a hunch, I don't know if this is true, but I have a hunch that this is similar to the Isagar tweed yarn. I don't remember the full name of it because it's also an Aran weight. It also has a lot of fun like tweedy bits in it. And I believe both of them are made in Ireland. So are they from the same place? Speculation. But anyways, I got this one. It's beautiful. It comes in a bunch of fun colors. I think there's like a green one that's really beautiful as well. And I'm holding it with the Cremkel. There's no L. Cremk Soul Blade. I'm sorry. Silky Kid. I'm holding it in their undyed version. I believe Emma originally used their just like white one, which is very, very similar. The undyed was like slightly cheaper, so hence this way. And it definitely makes a more of like a softened, muted pink garment. It's really fuzzy. I was gonna call it merino. The mohair is quite soft. I don't know if it's the softest I ever felt, but for a relatively affordable mohair, I actually think it's really lovely. And again, this one comes in a bunch of fun colors, so it's easy to mix and match the tweed and the mohair together. I'm generally not a huge fan of Aran weight. While it knits up really fast, I just find that like the needle to yarn ratio just a little too much, especially like when I'm doing all the ribbing here because it's on 4mm needles. The actual stockinette is fine. The main needle that I'm using is 5.5, which has been a really long time since I've used 5.5mm needles. I think the last time I did was for the tendril sweater that I made, which I really like, but I find that Pure Gint is not as heavy as this yarn. In terms of the construction, I don't know how it varies too much from the original. I believe this version has a bit less of a drop shoulder, whereas the original like DK weight version is like a little bit more drop shouldery, and I think the sleeves are slightly different. I can't remember how, but I do think I recall Emma saying that sleeves are a little different. But the general like vibe with the diagonal front button band is the same. And I think she also has a vest version, so there's kind of a style for anybody. All in all, it's been a really fast knit. I think by the time I casted it on to like getting most of the yoke done, it was like about 3 days worth of knitting. And then I was away for a weekend, so I didn't get any work done on it for maybe like a week or so. And then I came home and finished up the body. I anticipate the sleeves maybe be a little slower going because I don't have 5.5 millimeter shorties that I usually like to use. So I'll probably have to use magic loop, which is fine, but I am a little slower when it comes to knitting sleeves on magic loop. But that's okay. There's still time. This one is actually due at the end of July, so on a similar timeline, but because this is on such a thicker weight yarn, I'm really not worried about this. I think if I just spend a little bit more time, I could get it done. My goal is to maybe get the first ribbing button band done today, and then maybe the second knit button band done tomorrow. We'll see. We will see. I'll keep you updated. The last thing I want to mention about this one is that the buttons that Emma had chosen for her sample are the cutest buttons. They're these really cute, like matching ceramic, almost Tweedy styled buttons that Maker kindly offered the test knit group a discount to buy the buttons as well. I'm still waiting for them to come in the mail because I believe she's based somewhere in Europe and I didn't ask for tracking shipping. So we'll see when they get here. This garment will be so cute when those buttons arrive and are put on because they're so adorable. If you want to see what buttons I'm talking about, go check out Emma's original sample because they're so cute. They're so cute. Next project is actually in this project bag, so I'm just gonna take it off here. This one is one that has like an interesting background in terms of how I found the pattern. It basically started with Brooklyn Tweed announcing their yarn discontinuation. Basically, if you guys don't know, Brooklyn Tweed has decided to stop producing their yarns. They're an American-based company, I believe, and they specialize in like American-based yarn. Like the sheep are in the States and they produce it, dye it, and like spin it into American yarn, which is really cool from a principle perspective. Nevertheless, I've been dying to try Brooklyn Tweed for years. And when they made this announcement, I kind of knew that it was going to be my last chance to get Brooklyn Tweed, specifically their Shelter and Loft yarn, because once they're gone, they would be gone. So I went out of my way to find a Canadian store that had a sweater's quantity in stock. And I actually picked up more than one sweater's quantity, but I picked up this Shelter in a sweater's quantity. And this is Brooklyn Tweed Shelter in the color Wood Smoke. And this yarn is such an interesting yarn. I've never used something like this before. Shelter and Loft are woolen spun. And the difference between woolen spun and worsted spun yarn is the way that they're manufactured. With woolen spun, you don't actually straighten out the fibers before you spin them into a strand of yarn. Therefore, you get kind of more of like an airy, puffy yarn. It means it's like super lofty and fluffy and got a really nice squish. Whereas woolen spun is more, I think, common in terms of when you see yarn, and it's kind of like the strands of fiber are all like laid out before they're spun together. And so this yarn is rustic, but not scratchy. It's very much similar in texture as to the Natura Durarum's Gilliatt, which I also believe is at least partly woolen spun, if not totally. It also has like a similar dry, squishy texture. I do find that this one is like lighter though, all in all. Anyways, long story short, I always buy yarn with plans in mind. And so when I was scouring Ravelry in terms of like what kind of pattern I want to use, I came across this one called, what is this one called? The Home Shirt Jacket. I don't have the designer's name on here, so I'll have to put it on the screen. I'm so sorry, it's not in my notes. But it's basically kind of like a shacket looking jacket shirt. It's got a nice collar. It's very like structured. And I thought it would be perfect for this yarn, partly because I saw someone make a version on Ravelry and it looked so good. And then partly because I think this yarn would do really well in more of like a structured sweater or garment. So this is what I have so far. I have the collar done, and then I've started most of the yoke. It's a little bunched up because I don't want to lose stitches. This yarn is also so interesting in the sense that when you knit it up, it's like really spongy. It's such a pleasure to knit with. I can see where the hype came from. It is a very expensive yarn, don't get me wrong though. But yeah, it is beautiful. It has a lot of like color variation in terms of like, it's not just like a plain flat color. and it's super squishy. It's really soft. I'm excited to block it. When I blocked the swatch, it just turned into such a beautiful fabric. This was my primary knitting project when I was at the cottage, and it just flew off the needles. This is just such a fun yarn. I do really like it. A couple more things about this yarn, sorry, I'm going back and forth, is that it's really rustic in the sense that when you use it, there's like vegetation bits all over it. You can see right there that there's like hay in it or something, and it's all over the place. I was reading on Ravelry that some people really hate it. I don't mind. I actually think it gives the wool like a kind of a fun texture. I have to pick it out as you go, but it definitely is like a cool feature in my opinion. And then the second part I was noticing a lot of people were talking about on Ravelry is that apparently they had experiences where shelter would like break on them just by normal knitting. I think it's by virtue of the like kind of fluffiness of the woolen spun. I haven't had any issues. I anticipate maybe more issues would come up with Loft, which is their fingering weight version of shelter, but I haven't used it, so I don't know. But so far I've been knitting with this like normal and it's been totally fine. I am a little curious to see how the future wear of this sweater will be. I've seen people say that once it's knitted up, it's like super strong, but then I've also seen other people say that like they've knit something 6 years ago and it's starting to fall apart. So this yarn seems to be hit or miss. I don't know if it was like a manufacturing thing, and I couldn't find a consistent like pattern in terms of like, oh, yarn produced in like 2012 had all these problems versus like newer yarn or older yarn. So not sure. I'll keep you posted in terms of overall how this lasts moving forward, but so far the knitting experience has been great and I'm really excited. Okay, enough about the yarn. Let's talk a little bit more about the actual project. So this, like I said, is the home shirt jacket. It is a collared shacket looking thing that is supposed to be tailored. It's gonna have like button cuffs, and I do want to make a bit of a mod to have kind of more of a rounded edge on the bottom. Otherwise, I do plan on just making it like similar to a button-down shirt. The goal in my mind is to have just like a nice wool, thick but light jacket that I can just throw on in cool evenings or in the fall time. And I think this like brownish color of the shelter will work really nicely for that. I am overall just really excited. This yarn and this like sweater garment seem to be like a perfect match in my opinion. It's like the right amount of rusticness for a sweater that's gonna be kind of like just like an everyday kind of don't have to think about, throw over your like outfit kind of garment. So the general construction is that it's knit flat. You start with the collar. This is like a folded collar similar to the Elizabeth blouse. You start with a Judy's Magic cast on and then you knit the collar like double, and then you join them together at the seam here, and then it's a mix between saddle shoulder and raglan so far. I haven't split for sleeves yet, but you do a bit of saddle shoulder creation at the top here. You can see the square, and then eventually you do raglan. You actually increase the like yoke quite rapidly where you're doing increases on both the right and the wrong side. And I always get my like make one purl left and make one purl right confused. So I always have to fix them when I get to the right side. But overall, it's been a really seamless knit. I did most of this probably in the span of like 4 days. It's such a fun knit. I really enjoy it. I think it's partly because the actual garments construction is very straightforward, and then I think the other part is just I really like working with the shelter. That is this project. This has also been a really wonderful in-between project when I'm working on the girl dress, because the fingering weight contrasted with this one has been really, really nice. That being said, I think because I have both this one on the go as well as the Clematis sweater, which is also a little bit more of a textured yarn, I am really looking forward to switching back to just merino, because there's just a lot of like textured friction going on with my tension hand, and I've had to be very wary, not about like wrist tension or pain, but just like the rubbing on my index finger with it, where it's like how my yarn kind of gets tensioned into the project. I've had to like take a lot of breaks, bounce between different knitting projects and other things, and just be mindful about that. So yeah, really looking forward to switching back to just a more stretchy, smoother yarn in the foreseeable future. That being said, given that I have these 3 projects on the go right now, I think I want to try to get some of these more worked through before I start something new. Speaking about something new, this next work in progress is something that's a little bit of a left field for what I typically make, and it's because it's a crochet project. All of my stuff is in this bucket because it's kind of like a scrappy, not really, because I'm using my Advent yarn, but it's kind of like a multicolored, like crochet as you go project, and that is the Astrid Pillow. This pillow is a granny square pillow that you kind of knit them together to make a pillow on, I think it's like a 14 by 14 inch pillow or so. And I am specifically using my special yarn. This is my Advent calendar from 2024. And for those of you who don't know, last year was my first year I got an Advent calendar. It was the Sunday Fiber Co. Advent calendar. It was based off the Nutcracker and it was gorgeous. She had a bunch of fun, beautiful colors, and the box that it came in was like really adorable. So I've been hoarding it for a while, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with it. I toyed with the idea of doing a Stella quilt by Laura Penrose, or the Quinta sweater, I think is what it's called, by Rebecca Clow. I ended up settling on a crochet project because it would be slightly faster moving and just like a little bit more of a different style. I didn't want to do another blanket. I have a couple scrappy blankets that I haven't made a ton of progress on, and knitting overall is just slower than crochet. So these are all the squares that I've made so far. They're really kind of hard to show. They're all so cute. I need to weave in the ends, but the colors just go together so wonderfully in my opinion. And my plan is to hopefully put these pillows on either my daybed or the green couch that I have downstairs in the family room, because I just think it would add such a fun pop of color. Basically what I did was I wound them all into little skeins, I stuffed all the labels in them, and I've just been grabbing random colors as I go, only putting enough thought to make sure that there's a little bit of contrast between each adjacent color so that it doesn't look too washed out, but I'm really liking how they are. I think in total I have to make 24 squares if I'm not mistaken. And I think I'm at like 16. I'm like a little less than halfway, a little more than halfway. A little more than halfway. It's been a really fun in-between project because I haven't crocheted in a while, and crochet is just like a different form of fiber arts that I actually, funnily enough, if you guys don't know, the very beginning of my whole like crafting journey started in 2022, I want to say. And it started because I did a temperature blanket. I crocheted a temperature blanket for all of 2022. That was a really special year because it was the year I got married. We moved into this house. It had really wild winters and really warm summers. And that was all crochet. And then from there, I kind of started dabbling in knitting, and then I fell in love with knitting. But crochet still has like a special part of my heart because it kind of introduced me into this whole crafting thing. So this is an homage to that, and it also is feeling really nice to actually use this yarn because as much as I like to hoard yarn, it should be used. It's just too beautiful just like to keep in a box. I haven't decided if I want to stuff the pillow with like scrap yarn. I don't know if I have enough to actually fill out a whole like decorative pillow, or if I want to buy an actual like insert. We'll see. I know that Knits by Mandy did like an excavation scrappy project and she stuffed it, which I want to use up my scrap yarn, but I also only want to use like little bitty scraps and not like amounts that I could use for different projects. Do you know what I mean? Are you one to like have different types of scrap? I have like scraps that are like probably this much or shorter. And then I have like mini scraps that could be used for like scrappy projects. And then I have like half-used skeins that like is too much to call a scrap, but like it's not a full new skein and I don't have enough to make a project. I don't know. I have all my scraps sorted, and the scraps that I would use to stuff a pillow, I don't think I have enough. I'll have to think about that. But yeah, that's the Astrid Pillow. We'll see how that goes because I sometimes have a problem with dropping projects like that, but I want to get these pillows eventually because I think they'd be really cute on the couch or the daybed. That's all I have for whips. Before I talk about some swatches that I've made and a very quick sewing update, I just want to briefly mention that in my last podcast episode, I was talking about my favorite way to join skeins in a project, and I verbally described it, and I don't think I did a good job. And a lovely viewer commented asking for if I had like either the name of that technique or a video about it to kind of showcase it a little bit more. I don't know what the technique is called. I tried looking it up and I couldn't find one that is the way that I did it. So I've made a reel that's over on Instagram. I'll link it down below in the description if you're curious to see. It's my favorite kind of yarn joining, unless I have like a feltable yarn. So like the Shelter or the pure tweed, my preferred way to join skeins that way is just by split splicing. I actually don't know, is it split splicing or is it spit splicing? I've heard both. I've heard that it's the latter because some people actually use their spit to splice them together. I've always ever done water, so I always call it split. Like I split the yarn into a like half so that when you like splice them together, it's not double the thickness. Anywho, that's my preferred way for feltable yarn. For my non-feltable yarn, I do what I showed in the reel. It's not great if you're doing something that has to be knit flat where both sides will be visible. I will just note that here. So it's great for stuff in the round. It's great for like garments. If you were knitting like a garter stitch blanket, I don't think this would be the best join for that. But nevertheless, if you're curious, I have made that for you. Yeah, okay, so with that out of the way, let's talk about some swatches and maybe future projects, but we'll see. A while back, I did a swatch party. If you don't know what that is, it's what I tend to call a period where I make a bunch of swatches for projects that I kind of want to make so that when I decide to actually start them, all the swatches are done and I can just sit down and start. So the home shirt jacket was part of that swatch party. And then I made 2 other swatches, one of which doesn't exist anymore. I frogged it because I didn't like the way that the yarn combined together looked, but I'll still talk about it briefly. And it's basically these 2 yarns together. So I wanted to make a blouse number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. Actually, now that I've like frogged this, I haven't fully decided if I want to move forward with that exact pattern because I've read a lot about the like fit being a little weird, but it's also a very popular pattern, so I'm not entirely sure. Primarily, people talk about the underarm being like really deep, like the yoke being really deep. So either I have to make a mod or I'll have to find a different pattern. I'm toying with the idea of making a long sleeve ivy tee by Petite Knit. But my original plan was to do a blend of Knitting for Olive pure silk in the color Haze, held with a strand of Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the color Oatmeal. I thought they would look good together originally, but when I put them together, the Haze is more cool tone and the Oatmeal's more warm tone. And so it was making it look like very yellowy. I'm sorry I don't have the swatch to show you guys, but this is what they look like together if you're curious. I do really like the texture of the fabric that this combination gives. The silk with the merino and the cotton is like a really nice summer blend in my opinion. Silk for the reasons why I talked about earlier, and then the merino and the cotton to provide a little bit more like animal fiber and just like more warmth and elasticity into it. So I definitely still have plans to knit something in this combination. I ended up ordering some pure silk in the color Oatmeal to hold with this Oatmeal, and then I'll do something else with this Haze because it's still a beautiful yarn. But yeah, that was the first project that no longer exists, and I don't know if it will fully be a project. If you've knit blouse number 1 before, please let me know what your thoughts are about the fit and the overall construction, because it looks really beautiful, but then in some photos and like descriptions on Ravelry pages, people have talked about it stretching out a lot and just not fitting the way they wanted it to. And so I'm curious to know if you found it to be that way, because it otherwise looks like a really like nice classic fit shirt, especially the boat neck. I'm really into a boat neck right now, which I think is having a moment because Petite Knit's putting out a bunch of boat neck, so maybe she's like setting that trend. But the other one is also an interesting like animal fiber plant-based blend yarn, and it's this swatch here. This is for the Daphnis cardigan, I believe it's what it's called, also by Emma.Knits. And this is knit in a strand of Isagar Trio 1, which is 50% linen, 30% cotton, and then 20% lysocell. I have it in a bag here. This is in the color khaki, if I believe. Yes, khaki, which is a really interesting yarn. It's got like a browny green, but like a darker bit of brown in it. I'll take one out to show you. Can you see that? It's like kind of striped. This one is like definitely very more of like, got a lot of like structure that you would anticipate from more of like a plant-based focused yarn combination. Probably not super fun to knit with by itself, but that swatch is actually held with this, which is a strand of alpaca too. This is 50% alpaca, 50% wool, also from Isagar. And this is in the color E7S. So both of these yarns are new to me yarns. I am really enjoying the way that this fabric looks. And I think the combination of a plant-based fiber with an animal fiber mixed together creates this really cool texture that it's like not quite like floppy the way alpaca is, but also not very stiff as if you were only knitting like a plant-based. So I'm really interested to see how this turns out. I think I'm in my brown phase because yeah, this whole swatch party was just a bunch of brown yarn. And I feel like it's like my go-to when I don't know what to knit, because I find brown looks a little bit more like warmth and rich than just like a gray toned. That being said, I really love grayish. So I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm just a boring yarn person. This is a really interesting pattern where it's also a cardigan, but it has kind of like this crossed draped front. It's really fun. And I like these unique styles where they're like very wearable, but with a little bit of variation so that it's just not like a plain traditional cardigan. So this will eventually get made, hopefully. Again, I have a lot of whips going on right now, and I do worry that once those are done, I'm gonna wanna like knit something else. But that's the plan for the foreseeable future. I also think I might crave some color soon because I'm knitting a lot of like neutrals. I know that the Clematis sweater is like pinkish, but it leans more neutral with the mohair and whatnot. I want to throw in a brief like sewing life update here just in case you're curious. I did recently publish a video about catching up with you guys, about what I've been doing, what I've been interested in. I touched a little bit about sewing, the new office. So if you're curious about more of like that kind of stuff, go check out that video. I haven't been sewing, to be honest with you. I have been thinking about a lot of sewing projects. I just haven't gone around to actually doing it. But one project that I keep coming back to is a day bed headboard. So part of this new office that I have now is over there, which you can't see, but if you go to the other video I was sitting on, is a day bed. Jube's on it right now. And it came with no headboard. It was kind of intentional with the design that I wanted, but I ended up watching a video from the Sorry Girls where Kelsey made this beautiful quilted headboard and I couldn't get it out of my mind. So I think I want to make a version of that. I went to IKEA the other day and I picked up this, which it's curtain. It's kind of like this like taupey brown curtain. It's got a little bit of texture on it. It kind of gives me like linen vibes, but it is 100% cotton. And my plan is to make a quilted headboard for the day bed so that that corner can be a little bit cozier and just have a little bit less like wall, because right now the wall is just empty, so it's just a lot of just wall. We'll see how that goes. I haven't fully fleshed out exactly how I'm gonna do it. I have a vague idea based off the Sorry Girl video and just like thinking about it, but I need to spend some time doing some math and figure out the measurements, and I need to make sure that I have enough batting for it. But that's a sewing project that I hope to get done in the foreseeable future. Honestly, it might not get done until August, which is when I have like a week off of work that I plan to just do whatever I want. So maybe that's a then project. That's also what I did in April when I actually painted this room. Nevertheless, I just wanted to throw that out there so that you guys are aware. I still want to make the lane pants. I just haven't gotten around to actually figuring it out. I don't know, something about that project scares me because I just don't want to waste fabric, and I feel like I don't know how to properly lay it out and like optimize the fabric. I'll just have to bite the bullet and actually do it someday. In the meantime, still thinking about sewing. I just yeah, no progress. I know some other people are doing a lot of sewing and it's really inspiring, but I'm definitely more of a knitty girl. I've come to realize that. My sister is really into sewing right now, which is really cool. But anywho, that's all I have for you guys now officially. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day wherever you are and whenever you're watching this. If you have any fun things that you're working on crafty wise, sewing, knitting, crocheting, embroidery, anything under the sun, feel free to let me know about them in the comments. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video and I will catch you guys in the next one.